Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. It is Saturday, the 3rd of May, just over 24 hours to Liverpool visit Stamford Bridge, where they're going to have to give us a guard of honour. We will adore every second, they will hate every second of that, but that is still 24 hours away, and on the Daily Red, we talk to you about everything that is happening, what are the headlines, what are the Liverpool stories out and trending right now. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from pretty sunny Edinburgh, to be honest. I'm already thinking like barbecue. This is really just the last hour meditating through my mind that you have your burgers and sausages, but spare ribs, chops, Chinese chicken breasts, all those types of things, already planning it out, am I right? Am I dicing the onions? Am I frying them? All those types of things. Fingers crossed, it is nice wherever you are in the world right now. But we're here to talk about the champions. Champions. Still running. Everything from last weekend still running through my mind. But what are the headlines out today? Well, there's only really one place to start, ladies and gents. When all the headlines are out, the transfer window is really not too far away at all. And in fact, it starts on June, doesn't it? It absolutely starts in June. The 1st of June, the transfer window starts. And Liverpool are being linked with fullbacks. Now, whilst Liverpool are being linked with fullbacks, you had Milos Kerkez in your mind, didn't you? You had him as the one that was definitely going to happen, wasn't it? But that's not the case. Maybe, possibly, potentially, maybe, because Maxim De Cuyper, if I'm pronouncing it right, Belgium fullback, product of Bruges Youth Academy, born and bred, is now the latest name in the mix, isn't he? Could he be the one? After it almost felt like Kerkez was, I don't know, the McAllister of last summer, if that makes sense, inevitable. It just seemed a prize situation. Could De Cuyper be the one? Now, there's a lot just to reserve or just to consider with De Cuyper. And if we look at his FB ref profile, there's a few things you've got to bring onto the docket. Yes, he's played in the Champions League. Yes, he has international caps. Absolutely, you've got to mention those things. However, he plays in the Belgium Jupiler League. Just as an analysis, analysts will say it's about 0.6 of the Premier League. So I'm not being funny, people. You're not far off halving a lot of his stats that way in analysis. We're comparing him with Premier League players. So you've got to keep that in mind. However, as people will say, this is a fullback that's played in the Champions League, and Bruges are one of the, what do you call them, surprise stars of this Champions League campaign. So all those elements have got to come into the mix for this. There is a lot of green on this FB ref profile, which is positive. And if you look at some things, I mean, he's clearly a passer, not a carrier. You can see that his passes attempt to nearly 75 a game, 99th percentile for comparison fullbacks. Progressive passes, nearly 7.5 a game, again, 99th percentile. So it's clear an excellent passer. And if you look at other physical metrics, very much, you'd almost call him a diesel bomber, up and down. The reason I say diesel bomber, he's not Kerkez. Kerkez is a road runner, isn't he? Pace up and down. De Cuyper very much goes up and down that flank very well, but not a speed merchant. That's important to say at the same time. Okay, so keep all that in mind. Oh, just a quick check for my sound because people are saying about that. Fingers crossed. That is all sorted. Let me just make sure. I'll change that over. So fingers crossed. If anyone can hear me, it was a bit muffled. Apologies there. It's a bit clearer for you now. Other things to call out. I mean, does get the ball quite high up the pitch. He is a creative element there. There's no two ways about it. Touched in the attacking penalty area, 95th percentile. So there's so much to like with De Cuyper there. There's no two ways about it. Here's the kicker.
It looks green. It looks great. And if you watched him in the Champions League a couple of times like I have, there's clearly potential there. Belgium international, good age as well, 24. Price seems reasonable, quoted around the 20 million mark. Look at the people it's being compared to. All these metrics. I mean, Junior Firpo at Leeds, Jordi Alba. It's a second-tier league. That's not trying to be disrespectful to anyone, who's Belgium or a fan of that league at all. But as we said, you have to remember all the full picture when we're talking about De Cuyper. Plays in a weak league. Yes, the Champions League elements. Yes, internationals. But there's a reason why this rumoured price is around £20 million. Yes, he can play on the right side as well. He has done a few times for Bruges. And if you were to look at the overall context, that is maybe one of the big ticks, isn't it? That if he was to come to Liverpool, you'd be thinking a player that can be on the left, a player that can also cover the right, especially with what we know is going to happen with Trent. That comes into the mix at the same time. So all that plays a part. But the crosses in the other column, just a bit too strong. Very different to Kirkez as well. A passer, not a road runner, as we said before. You can all make your call, can't you, there, on Maxim De Cuyper and whether you'd like to see him as the left back that arrives at Anfield. We shall see what develops with that one. Speaking of developments, people, this was a Sky Sports one, wasn't it? Last night it came up as breaking news that Liverpool will open contract talks with Luis Diaz at the end of the season. La, na, 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 la, na, 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 na. One of the best songs we've got, isn't it? One of the best forwards. The second best forward, I think it's fair to say, this season overall. Is that worthy of a renewal? It's such a question mark for me, this. People seem to be like, yes, absolutely, it's got to be him. I don't know. I really don't know. I can make a case for and against. I mean, let's do the fours first of all. 15 goals across the Champions League and Premier League, 16 in all competitions, 5 assists across those, 8 in all competitions. So I've seen people suggest recently Mane-esque levels in that regard. And as an average Mane, yes, not peak Mane by any means, but I understand what they're getting at. And versatility's really come into the mix. He's been important for us on the left, but also in the middle. So that's in the pro column. You also think about what Luis Diaz brings for us. And I mean, proving here as an attacking midfielder or a winger, a brilliant carrier, isn't he? Pace, maybe not quite what it was, but hardworking. You know as much as me what you get with Luis Diaz. And very much Luis Diaz is one of the first choice names on the team sheet for Arne Slot. He's developed his game. So that there's so much to like about this player who's got 24 goal contributions. Yeah, he's a big part of what Liverpool have done this season. Zero doubts about it. That's all the pros. You've got to stack this, people, for full context. 28. So next season will be 29. 2 years left to go on his contract. So if you are going to sell, now people are going to be saying that, oh no, you could run it another year and get like Saudi money, and Saudi seems to be the most strongest link, you'd say. We will talk Barcelona, but we know Barcelona's financial situation, and we've talked Barcelona for so long. Almost, it just, how feasible is that? I'm struggling to see it now for many reasons, and his age. There's been suggestions for a long time that Luis Diaz has been looking for a move. A warmer climate, Merseyside isn't that. But now we had Pipe the other day saying, he is looking for this. We had that story from Pipe that Luis Diaz wants to win the Champions League with Liverpool. Luis Diaz is apparently looking for a new contract with Liverpool. I would suggest Luis Diaz is playing this beautifully right now. All those stories are coming out. And they're always a game of chess, cat and mouse, whatever analogy you want to use for these conversations. It's got to be balanced, though. For me, I do wonder if a big money Saudi offer or somewhere else, but it's probably Saudi, was to arrive, what do Liverpool do? That's what you've got to think about. Also now, people will say the grown-ups, I saw the other day, are back in charge, but FSG, Edwards, etc. Are you giving a renewal to a 28-year-old? Okay. The other argument is balanced with, well, look at the amount of change that's going to take place with Nunes, certain to go, the other changes, left back and all this. They'll want to limit the churn and question marks even around Jota and others like that. I understand all of that. It's funny, as Ale PS 20 times says that, I'm okay with them getting a renewal, but if a good offer comes in, I'd take it. I get all of that. I get both sides. Just to be clear, only a fool can't make the arguments both sides for this one. Ultimately, it will depend on the total picture. And I actually think Luis Diaz is a big domino for this summer. Nunes is going. Liverpool are looking for a 9. That's clear. With no one's debating that. If he stays, then I think there's a question mark around Jota. Because I struggle to see a world in which, well, the renewal question's there, but Liverpool keep both those players, both 28. Could do. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just think it's really one to consider. I do think Luis Diaz is a big, big domino, shall we say, for how the summer may go and how many go and leave. Could well be wrong on that. But yeah, say it again. Only a fool can't argue this both ways. And I've seen a few in the chat panel saying 100% got to keep him. Wouldn't be sad. Wouldn't be surprised either if he departs. We've got to keep an eye on this one. Yeah, mixed either way. And the comments are coming in. What if he's looked as the backup striker and we're going to buy a new left winger? Possibly. Pavitra, if I pronounced that right. We talked about it on the transfer show that if they can't get an elite 9, there is talk of a player that can play wide but also cover 9 and flexibility there. Vinicio saying there as well, depends who we get. If Diaz goes, they have to be better or we should keep him. Totally understand those sentiments as well. Neil Moore, definitive, Diaz staying. We'll have to see. And this again, end of the season, Sky Sports are saying, what happens from there? Forget Sky Sports though. Liverpool are massive. Look at that. Liverpool's 20th league title win creates record-breaking social media engagement. If you had any doubt just how annoying and boiling of that sentiment we are to others, look at that. LFC 20th title triumph, officially the most engaged Premier League win ever and the club's most engaged day of all time on social media. There's a little bit of part of me, and I'm sure like you, even now we're still absorbing the content. Even now, I would love just to go back and relive 6 days ago and everything that entailed from traveling down, the coach coming in, the atmosphere, the sentiment during the game in the stadium and the win to post-match and that feeling. Take me back, 100%. And everyone's like that. There's still stories, still little bits, still clips that are just almost going to echo for eternity, aren't they? But if you want any doubt of how big the Reds are, and your mates of other clubs tell you anything else, the most engaged Premier League win ever. As Rafa would say, fact. Nice story, that one, eh? Moving on to, I don't know if this is a nice or not story. People are really split on this. And again, sounding like a politician, I'm split with Diaz. This one as well. Harvey Elliott. So Arne Slot was asked in the presser about Harvey Elliott and almost alluding to it, his future, what might happen, and how it's working for him. And he was quite honest in saying that when he was injured, so that's part of the reason he wasn't there. And then when he came back, he wasn't the same. It's taken him time to get back to his old levels. And Slot mentioning that now he started to increase on his minutes. Just to be clear, I think everything Arne Slot was saying was truthful in that interview and those bits. But here's the big thing around Harvey Elliott, which I'm still struggling with, because a lot of people are going, that's it. His interview as well during the week, that, fighting spirit. And we love off the pitch everything about Harvey, don't we? Liverpool fan, right attitude. He was brilliant, so paramount in the celebrations as well. All that. But there is a suspicion, as Ale says there, he thinks Harvey will be sold. I'm struggling with this, people. I mean, yeah, he played a few games in the Carabao, but that's not what Harvey Elliott wants. I tell you what else Harvey Elliott doesn't want is when he plays less than 400 minutes this season across the Premier League and Champions League. And Harvey Elliott doesn't also want to have a season where he's playing less than 700 minutes across all competitions. Yes, you factor in the injury, as Arne Slot mentioned there, a bit of recovery time, yes. But this feels such a pivotal summer for Harvey Elliott, and what does he want to do? People say he's a kid. He's 22. That's not old. I'm not saying that, but he'll be 23 next season. That's not young anymore. That's the time you really should be racking up your minutes and starting to break through. And I use that word breakthrough because people say, hold on, he has broke through. He's been in a Liverpool team. Like, not this team under Arne Slot. I don't see how you can argue that. If you want to argue it, just look at the minutes there as a fact. And then you look at Liverpool's midfield. He is fifth choice. There's four ahead of him in Mac, Grav, Szoboszlai and Curtis. Those four will play more minutes than Harvey Elliott if everything stays the same. Now, he could be used more. Let's not make anything negative about Harvey Elliott. We said off the off-field. Now, when you look at his FB Ref profile, I mean, there's so many nice things, but per 90 is doing some massive heavy lifting in all this, isn't it? But his talent. In a game state player when we need to chase something and make something happening, he could have an impact. And people will say, in the 10, he should have had more minutes. I can understand that. But is that enough for a 22-year-old who'll be 23 next season, who probably harbours ambitions of being in the England team as well, really kicking on? If everything stays the same, because those four players I just mentioned ahead of Harvey Elliott, they're not going anywhere this summer. They're not. So where does he get his minutes? And also, this is before we even say about a potential another midfielder coming in, another attacker who, can drop deep. And I'm just using examples. Like, I'm not saying this will happen, but say Morgan Rogers comes in, he could play left, right, and attacking midfield, by the way. So that might restrict him. If Xabi Simons comes in, he can play left and attacking midfield. So that would probably knock Harvey further down the pecking as well. So just really struggling. Now, the other side, I've seen people arguing about we don't want to sell all our homegrown, limit the churn. I understand all that. I'm not saying that's incorrect, but it's not this straightforward, Harvey Elliott's future. And I really didn't take Arne Slot's comment yesterday as he's staying, this is it, come back. I've still got a question mark over this one. Neil saying there, straightforward, Harvey needs a move. Vinicio saying, yeah, there's a 10 in the front of a midfield diamond. His only real weakness he can do is about pace. Homegrown, I'd keep him. But if he wants to play more, The only final thing, because I don't want to be negative, I love so much about Harvey Elliott, and we love technicians and people can do that with a left foot. There's so much to like, isn't there? But Harvey Elliott can't play with Alexis McAllister. You can't have two chuggers, as I would say, on the pitch. If you're going to play Alexis, which you've got to, McAllister's our best midfielder, he's world class. So you have people like Dom and Grav, legs, power, pace next to them. You couldn't have a midfield with Alexis and Harvey Elliott. You would get road roughshod over. That would be like a moth to the flame for Premier League teams. It really would. So that counts against him as well. When you stack it all up, yeah, I don't think this is as clear cut as people are making out. Maybe it might be. We'll have to see what is unveiled this summer. And also, speaking of this summer, Arne Slot. Did anyone see his Embargo comments? I thought they were great. Talking about, in this one, the title win and how that appeals to targets and seeing the scenes, wanting to think, yeah, I'd fancy a part of that. But also we mentioned in the Embargo comments, if you can, I won't show them, you can read and find those yourself, but about we're in competition with other sides. Liverpool, it seems, have got some lofty ambitions, and so they bloody should. We're champions. You know what we want to do? We want to repeat it again. So we should be targeting top players. As Arne Slot mentions, players that other clubs are looking at the same time. So, of course, anything we can do to nudge the needle in our favour, it's right. And we always think back to previous signings that when we're competing against it. The phone call from Jurgen used to be a big one, as players have said in the past. Now you're talking to Arne Slot, elite coach, title winner in first season. We have to be honest about this. There may have been last summer a little bit of, if I'm a player, I might just wait and see how it goes with Liverpool because no one suspected a title win. Let's be honest. So that comes into the mix as well. But yeah, I like the way he was talking in the Embargo and the comments still coming in around, Harvey staying, Isak being mentioned as well. Wages, all sorts of things go into this transfer mix. We'll see what unfolds. And to be honest, people, we don't have to wait long. It's the 3rd of May now. The transfer window number 1 opens on the 1st of June. So things are well underway. The game is afoot, as they say. This weekend, though, Stamford Bridge, isn't it? Sunday, 4:30. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, but 82 points, which if you look in the last 5 years at this stage, plus Liverpool second, isn't it? Just behind City of 21, 22. Yeah. There's Chelsea winning their semi-final first leg. There's them down the East Lancs winning their semi-final first leg. Red card again, Jamie. There's Spurs winning their semi-final first leg. Probably going to be an all-England Europa final. But remember, the Premier League's a weak league. Yeah, make that one work if you can. But Sunday, we'll talk more about the game. Interesting, isn't it? Other Premier League games that are coming today. It's so tight. Relegation's done, but that race for those 5 Champions League spots, it's more about the 2 that miss out, mainly because everyone's maybe thinking Aston Villa and that story of Morgan Rogers. Would they flog him? Could we get him? Gibbs White, etc. People look out for. It is more about who misses out. So we'll see how the football develops this weekend. But we will talk more about Chelsea tomorrow, of course, and all things around that game. Before then, articles, the things we've got to read about further. But if you are more of a watcher or a listener, Sweet Baby Jesus and the Orphans. Look at all that's come out for you in the last day alone. We had the instalment of the transfer window, the overseas bit by me and Trev. We had the Jonathan Northcroft from the Times, award-winning journalist, article there. split into two parts for you, the summer and the article. We had transfer market metrics with me and Bart, Kone, Rogers, and Anthony Gordon. I don't feel about that name. Funny as Luis Diaz comes up, the Gordon name's back on the radar. I'll let you decide that if you watch the pod on the metrics. Jan talking about last weekend. Jan talking about Arne Slot and his leadership. Jan previewing this one and the game against Chelsea. Molby on the spot. And even yesterday, Dave did a bit of discussion around potential future. Can Liverpool dominate in it? Looking at transfer targets and names. There is plenty there. There's a normal stuff to download if that's your choice as well. But we have got content coming out the absolute wazoo. As Ali PS says there, window opens just around 4 weeks around the corner. It is a busy time. That Vinicio is, as he say, why we've been busy. Everything is ramping up to a trophy lift in a couple of weeks and that transfer window. There's so much to be excited about, but the immediate thoughts are this weekend. And can we pop Chelsea's top 5 Champions League aspirations? Are they all just a bit hungover and pissed still? We will have to wait a little bit to find out. But there we go. Plenty to be excited about, plenty to look forward to, plenty to look at, plenty to read, plenty to watch, plenty to listen. Just plenty of things, isn't it, people? And on Saturday, the 3rd of May, that was another Daily Red